You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts now.
Well, guys, if I was to tell you that I believe that Lia Thomas is the greatest collegiate female swimmer of all time, would you guys believe me? Well, I actually just said that because today is April Fool's. It is April 1st, man. It is April Fool's Day. But let's get serious, okay? Everyone knows what happened with Lia Thomas back in 2022. Lia Thomas swam on the UPenn swim team on the men's side. Was pretty mediocre, guys. Ranked something like number 470 in the nation. But in 2022, a light switch just flipped. And he decided, I want to swim against the females. And guess what happened? Lia Thomas won an NCAA title. And the girls on the podium, they made it pretty clear that they didn't approve of this. Remember, they were kind of all like on one side where Lia Thomas was actually on the podium with the number one underneath him. Yeah, didn't like it. And then that really kind of started a movement, guys, where people started to wake up a bit and say, nah, this ain't right. You can't have someone that's biologically male competing in female sports. And I believe the locker room situation is much worse because you actually have a person in the locker room, guys, changing with male parts, invading the privacy of the females. Who was it, guys? It was one swimmer said that she was just happy to be able to change in a janitor's locker room because she didn't want to be in there with the male. Yeah, the left is really went insane, guys. Went insane. Now, President Trump signed an executive order to put a stop to all this madness of having males invading women's sports. And the American people, 80-20, 90-10, depending on which poll you look at, are actually approving of President Trump doing this. But still, we still have states out there like Maine that want to be defiant. We have a few high schools too in other states too as well. California. But also, guess who else does not want to comply with President Trump's executive order and Title IX? That'll be one Lia Thomas. Well, Lia Thomas was actually speaking at I believe a trans youth forum. I didn't know that was a thing. But Lia Thomas has made it be known that he's going to be defiant on President Trump and his executive order. So let's get into it. Check this out. On Fox News, controversial transgender swimmer Lia Thomas vows to fight trans athlete bans amid national shift on issue. There was no doubt in my mind that I was going to fight this. Wow. Boy. I can tell you this, man. We are winning this battle. Okay, the left is losing this battle. And if you actually look at the numbers on approval of males identifying as females and playing in female sports, it's declined over the years. Declined. A whole bunch of Democrats too, man, don't want males identifying as females and competing in female sports. Let's read this. It says, former University of Pennsylvania transgender swimmer Lia Thomas recently spoke up in support of the trans athlete community, as most Americans have become opposed to trans inclusion in women's sports. Thomas spoke up about the issue at the High Tops Trans Youth Forum on Saturday. Quote, I am going to keep fighting as much as I am able to, Thomas said over Zoom. Quote, in order to fight the battles we need to fight, we have to stick together and support each other. Thomas's recent comments come 3 years after the athlete was allowed to swim in the women's category for UPenn at the 2022 Ivy League Championships and NCAA Championships. Thomas previously competed for the university's men's swimming team under the name Will Thomas. Yeah, that's the birth name right there. But the previous NCAA gender eligibility policy allows trans athletes to compete with and share locker rooms with women. So Thomas took advantage and went to break multiple women's records. Yeah. And the females didn't like that. They didn't like that whatsoever. Thomas was even the focus of mostly positive attention from the mainstream legacy media in 2022, doing sit-down interviews with ESPN, NBC News, and Good Morning America. Yeah, by the way, ESPN, what was it, doing Women's History Month in 2023? I don't remember exactly. They actually put Lia Will Thomas in there as like a champion for women, but ignored Riley Gaines. Someone make that make sense to me. Someone make that make sense to me, man. Speaking of, there's Riley Gaines right here in that picture. But 3 years later, it goes on, President Donald Trump has ordered a national ban on trans athletes in women's sports. The NCAA has amended its policy to keep biological males from competing on women's teams. And data suggests that the vast majority of Americans oppose trans inclusion in women's sports. But Thomas believes the policies of trans athlete inclusion should be left up to the trans athlete themselves. What? Man. Quote, it has to be the athletes deciding for themselves where they feel most affirmed and most comfortable, he said. Fox News. Having routes that are safe and non-discriminatory that allow them access to that. Thomas's inclusion on the women's swimming team at UPenn in the 2021-22 season has prompted multiple lawsuits and a pause in $175 million in federal funding to the university for Title IX violations. Yes. Yeah, UPenn got punished. Riley Gaines currently leads a lawsuit against the NCAA. That's not dead yet, guys. Alongside several other women who competed with Thomas in 2021-22 over his previous gender identity policies. Yeah. Pretty much, guys, these girls were told to shut up. Don't be a bigot. Be inclusive of a male in the locker room being naked around him. Yeah. In February, 3 of Thomas's former teammates filed a lawsuit against the university, the Ivy League, and the NCAA, seeking to have all of Thomas's records in the women's category revoked, while also alleging the university pushed pro-trans ideology on the team. Yeah, I remember that. I do remember that, guys. So there you have it, man. It seems like the fight continues, man. The left just won't stop. And I believe this is a losing issue for them. It's a losing issue for the left, man. The American people have outright rejected this. Even Democratic voters, they don't believe this is fair. I mean, who can actually look at that picture of Thomas on the stage at number one with the other girls on the side supporting each other? Who can actually say that is fair? No one. Because it's not fair. That's just my thoughts on this. What do you guys think of this? Black and white sports fans, let us know what you think about all this in the comments. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. And we'll catch you next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.